In August, in the Downing Street Garden, you talked about painful choices coming in the budget. It was a hint of tax rises on the way. You didn't say it out loud. Will you level with us now? Are taxes going to be going up?
The budget will be set out by the Chancellor on the 30th.
The principle of it.
But what I was talking about when I was speaking at Downing Street, and what I've said ever since, is this. We've inherited a very bad situation here. The economy is broken.
The situation was an emotional eruption. During a live broadcast, the news anchor relentlessly called out Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, labelling their actions as outright lies and broken promises. The atmosphere was thick with disappointment as the presenter revealed the latest alterations to the Labour budget, which, despite previous assurances, heavily depended on tax hikes and unchecked spending. This rare and surprising confrontation stunned the audience and prompted everyone to wonder, can the Labour Party's credibility endure such a significant public backlash?
I think this was the moment where we saw the real Labour government and compare and contrast a Labour government that was painfully cautious in the run-up to this election, talking about really quite menial tax rises and spending commitments compared with today, and a government in victory that is bold and confident about the decisions they are making. And to put it into context, this budget, in terms of tax and spend, is £74 billion in spending by the end of this Parliament, £41 billion in tax rises. I have done a number of budgets, and this scorecard, in terms, I have never seen anything like it, and I've done this for 15 years. It's the biggest budget I have ever covered. It is incredibly definitive in terms of a kind of very Labour budget of big tax and big spend.
Tension filled the airwaves from the very first moments of the live broadcast on Sky News. This was clear from the expressions on the presenters' faces and their tones as they addressed the latest Labour Party budget. It felt like they had finally hit a breaking point. This was no longer just a courteous political discussion. Discontent was palpable, resonating in every word. It was directed squarely at the stark contrast between Labour's promises and their actual actions. The presenter kicked off with a strong reminder of the Labour manifesto's commitment to maintaining the budget without new tax increases or loans. Yet here we are, confronted with a budget that tells a completely different, contradictory tale.
Finances
£40
on a sound trajectory
of taxes. It's the biggest tax-raising budget since 1993. It's gigantic. And you said before the election, no plans to raise taxes, or the PM did, beyond the £8 billion that you had earmarked. So a lot of people out there are going to be quite shocked.
The recent Labour Party budget has sparked a whirlwind of confusion among many. To start, the figures are simply astonishing. Labour plans to spend an incredible £74 billion while simultaneously introducing new taxes totaling £41 billion. Yes, you heard that correctly, an additional £41 billion in taxes from a party that boldly vowed not to raise tax rates. The Sky News presenter couldn't conceal his astonishment, declaring it the most ambitious budget he had encountered in his entire political career. Honestly, it's difficult not to feel shocked and bewildered by such a massive undertaking.
We've discovered there's a £22 billion black hole. My approach, the Chancellor's approach, is to acknowledge that problem, run towards it and fix it.
Yes,
so that we can fix the foundations.
Are taxes going up beyond what you said in the manifesto?
We will then rebuild the country.
Are taxes going up beyond what you said?
That will be set out in the manifesto.
The principle of it?
It'll be set out in the manifesto.
Well, you set it out in the manifesto, taxes
I'm sorry, it'll be set out in the budget on Wednesday.
Is that the painful choice, that taxes will be going up? You know, I'm not asking you to set out what they are, but just the principle of it.
Well, the principle we put in place is that there's a £22 billion black hole, and we've got to
So taxes are going up?
Well, we're also clear that we're not returning to austerity.
You know, people will be watching this, and then when you put taxes up, and you won't say in principle, yeah, look, they're going to have to go up, and you'll get more detail.
No, I appreciate that, but I appreciate that. But you know, and I know, that no government before a budget sets out what's going to be in the budget.
I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you about the principle. You said to me in Grimsby, all our plans are fully funded, fully costed, fully funded. We do not raise taxes on.
That's exactly the issue. As the report unfolded, the presenter couldn't hold back his emotions and candidly labelled the recent Labour budget as a significant contradiction. he passionately emphasized Labour's staggering spending plan of £74 billion, which shockingly coincided with a £41 billion tax increase. For a government that once assured voters it would not raise taxes, these figures felt like a slap in the face to anyone who took those promises to heart. The presenter asserted that this was not what people had voted for, highlighting the stark contrast between the tax-heavy Labour budget and the aspirations for sustainable economic growth that citizens had placed in the government. It wasn't merely disappointment, it felt like a betrayal.
We're going
But
to keep
should
to
we
those
expect
promises.
taxes more broadly to
We're
go
going
up?
to have to make difficult decisions in this budget. I'm not going to preempt the budget.
That's a yes.
You know that.
Okay.
Look, but what we are going to do, it's really important that we fix the foundations. We've got to clear up this mess once and for all. And then on that, we build a better Britain. And that we will set out, which is measured in people feeling better off. The NHS, not just back on its feet, but actually fit for the future. And public services working in the way that people are entitled to see from their public services.
Prime Minister.
When Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Labour Party, appeared on Sky News, viewers were certainly anticipating a candid and straightforward discussion about the budget. Instead, they witnessed a real struggle. From the very beginning, the presenter posed pointed and uncomfortable questions regarding the shocking tax increases and controversial Labour spending plans, but Reeves appeared intent on sidestepping direct responses, offering one vague answer after another. Rather than addressing why Labour had gone back on its promises, she skillfully steered the conversation toward abstract goals of stabilising the economy and addressing public needs. It quickly became clear that she had no intention of revealing the truth or providing clear, specific answers, leaving viewers feeling confused and disappointed.
Chancellor, even if you accept the 22 billion black hole, 8 billion of that is because you decided to settle public sector pay disputes. Are you telling me, seriously, that you did not have an inkling before the general election that you might have to find billions of pounds to settle those pay disputes? And why didn't you level with the British public about that?
The previous government set the remit for the pay review bodies, the independent pay review bodies. And astonishingly, and we did not know this, and you did not know this either, they hadn't set an affordability criteria for the pay review bodies. Two of the pay review bodies, on defence and education, had already reported before the general election was called, and the previous government sat on that information. So these were inherited pressures.
So how does the Labour Party respond to this sudden and unexpected turn of events? They stand by their budget, pointing to a significant deficit of £22 billion that they believe must be urgently addressed to ensure economic stability. But that's not all. They contend that additional funding is essential to maintain fair wages in the public sector, which is crucial to prevent severe shortages in critical areas like health and education. Labour asserts that increasing both spending and taxes is not merely a step, but a responsible and necessary decision that will sustain the economy's normal functioning and avert underfunding of vital services that the entire country relies on.
Wes Streeting told me repeatedly before the general election, when I kept saying to him, the NHS is going to need more funding, he repeatedly kept saying, funding is not the answer, we're going to get it through growth. You have just announced 22.6 billion in extra day-to-day spending for the NHS. You just were not straight with the British people, and they will see through this. You were not straight.
We announced in the general election campaign that there would be an immediate injection of cash.
It was a few billion pounds which you had costed.
This
is 22.6 billion.
When Wes became Health Secretary on the 5th of July, he asked Lord Darcy, independent peer, to do a review about the state of our National Health Service. And the report was damning and it was shocking. But Wes was also told that unless more money was available,
As the interview continued, the patients involved began to lose their patience and composure. Their voices grew increasingly irritated as they openly challenged Reeves, demanding clarity and honesty. They implored her to be straightforward with the British public, emphasizing that the Labour Party stubbornly refuses to acknowledge its shift in political direction. This moment of disappointment was both genuine and profound, a rarity in political interviews, and it resonated with viewers who are weary of having their questions and needs consistently overlooked. It was a pivotal moment. I believe it was then that we witnessed the true nature of the Labour government, contrasting sharply with their previous, overly cautious approach when they avoided even minor discussions about tax increases leading up to the election. What are your thoughts on this video?